The mayor of Seattle is outraged that Chazistani protesters showed up to her house. How could they do this after she supported them and refused to shut down their occupation, even in the face of 5 shootings? They clearly have her support, yet still show up to her house, and she is deeply offended. You know, I gotta say, man, Democrats really don't learn, right? Or whatever it is that makes someone lean in that direction or become a politician, they don't learn. Maybe it's because they have a penchant for destroying history, so they're doomed to repeat it, but they keep doing things that negatively impact them. How many times have we seen stories about censorship, and then all of the liberty-minded people, I don't know how you describe it, intellectual dark web, moderates, conservatives are like, whoa, 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 censorship bad. And the left goes, but my private platform. And then they get banned. What? This is an outrage, I say. How dare you ban me? Or about this lady, Mayor Jenny Durkin, saying that it's going to be a summer of, we might have a summer of love, more akin to a festival. 5 shootings happen, and still they have not shut down the CHAZ. This is hilarious. They tried after the 4th shooting, but she didn't want to use the police, and the protesters are refusing to leave. Well, even though she has still refused to do anything about this, businesses are angry, residents are angry. They're saying enough's enough. There's one video where a dude pulls a gun. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a dude, and he's grabbing the barricades and throwing them. Somebody walks up and pulls out a knife, and then he pulls out a gun. And he's like, nah. And then they back away. And then he goes about flipping tables and destroying parts of the CHAZ. Basically, he says something like, go home, go the F home. How many more shootings need to happen before the mayor just says to the police, put your armor on, get the bulldozers, get everybody out, we're clearing this out? As far as I can tell, she's letting this stuff happen. Now, we've got some witness statements from people in the CHAZ, but I'm going to talk about the CHAZ and what some of the people who live there talk about. But I want to show you this, right? Seattle mayor who defended CHOP is outraged after protesters showed up at her home. Well, let me tell you something. You might legally have a right to defend yourself at your home, but the morality police will still come for you. This is the world you helped create. I love it. Take a look at this story. You know the St. Louis couple that came out with guns on their property when the protesters, rioters, trespassed onto their property, broke the gate. They came out with guns. Everybody knows the story. Big story. They're going to be investigated. That's right. They will threaten you when the mob comes for you. They say you have no right to defend yourself. These Democrats, man, in these cities. Now, I do want to do a brief mention. A lot of people are saying these guys, this man and this woman are Democrats. I did a quick check on their records. I believe they're actually Republicans. I believe they're passive Republicans, like minor donation here and there. Some people think that they're Democrats. I believe they got the wrong guy. They're doing the wrong. They got the wrong guy's name. Anyway, here's the point. When they show up to your house and they're screaming things at you and threatening you, you can do nothing to defend yourself. They will come for you. I want to read you a story because they're going to be investigated. And a lot of people are saying they're going to get in trouble. They might go to jail. Maybe it was a felony. That's right. Don't defend your house from the mob. Here's the story from The Blaze. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin expressed outrage after Black Lives Matter protesters showed up at her home Sunday afternoon, despite her previous support and defense of the CHOP encampment. Protesters targeted her home after Durkin announced last week the city would no longer support the CHOP, the Capitol Hill occupied protest, or whatever it's called, CHAZ, the CHAZ encampment, and would seek to remove the concrete barriers that helped define the autonomous zone, but the CHOP remains intact. You cannot appease them. It's amazing how they seem to think if you give in to terror, you will be left alone. I have been saying this for a long time. Now, more aggressively in recent times, they will never leave you alone. It will never happen. There's no amount of apologies. There's no amount of you cannot bow enough. It will never be enough. They want total and complete submission. So you say to them, I'm going to allow you to do your thing, even though everyone else in the city is mad about it. This is the most annoying thing to me, because I've talked to my friends. I got, as you know, many of my friends are progressives. They're lefties. And I've talked to a lot of them about statues and tearing things down and taking land. And they always offer this really passive non-answer like, well, I don't think it's right, but I wouldn't stop someone who did. And I'm like, What makes you think, like, because they're saying they would actually support all this stuff. Like, they would go down and chant and march, but they wouldn't personally throw the rope. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why don't you vote, okay? Why don't you go to the city council meetings and put up a vote to remove the statue? And they say voting didn't work. I'm like, gee, have you stopped to think about why that might be? Could it be that you're the baddies? And so I ask people, do you know how you determine whether or not you're the baddie? Look back through history and take a look at all the really awful people and countries and governments. They all kind of have a lot of things in common, like, I don't know, banning books, banning speech, things, using force and violence against their opponents. So how about you look back and you question whether or not you're the baddie? But the easier way to put it is, when you vote and most people say no, and you say, I don't care what the will of the people is, I am going to go out of my own volition and use force to get what I want, you're the bad guy. That's you. Now, I've often heard people try to conflate civil disobedience and nonviolent protest with use of force. No. Hold on. Sitting down and locking arms, that's acceptable. That's annoying. It's disruptive, but it does generate positive attention. So the occupied protest goes a bit too far because it's infringing on the rights of the businesses and the residents of this area. If they wanted to link arms in an intersection, that I get. But they've gone too far at this point, right? There's a fine line. It really is a fine line. We have this protest. We have people taking this space and saying, we demand. Okay. Civil disobedience, the only problem is it really is causing destruction and violence to the community that never agreed to this. So it is, an oppressive force. The bigger problem now is all of the shootings. You'd think at a certain point the mayor would come in and be like, nope, we're done. End of story. Violence is the line. And you guys are going nuts. Nope. No, she's just like, well, maybe we need to negotiate with the leaders of CHOP. Okay. So then when she says we're going to clear it out, they show up at her house and now she's crying about it. Durkin released a statement expressing her anger at the protest. She was especially upset that Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant had joined the protesters at her home. They're going to show up at your house. You think it ends here? You're insane. What I should say is, I don't know to what extent we escalate, but you know that they like showing up to people's houses with like mock guillotines. All right. Mayor Durkin and her family are in the state program to keep their address confidential because of death threats mostly related to her work as Seattle's U.S. attorney under President Obama. Instead of working to make true change, Councilmember Sawant continues to choose political stunts. Tonight, she did so without regard for the safety of the mayor and her family. The mayor was not even home. She was working at City Hall. Seattle can and should peacefully demonstrate, but should not put families and children at risk. King TV spoke to one of the protesters about why they targeted her home. We came down to Jenny Durkin's mansion to bring the demands of the movement and of the families who have been impacted by police violence to her doorstep. And she seems to not be able to hear out demands any other way. Demands. We don't care for votes. We don't care for community. We have demands. That is not how this country works. Maybe internally. Externally, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how the U.S. works, or at least to a certain degree. The point is, you know why they're showing up at her house? They're trying to instill fear in her. That's the point. That's why they're showing up at her house. You'd think that private residences and people's private lives would be off limits. No, they want you to fear. They have burned down buildings. They have shot and killed people. And now they're showing up to your house. What are you going to do about it? That's why she's freaking out. But you know what? I tell you what, man. Mayor Jenny Durkin, this is your fault. There's no point at which they stop, okay? If you keep giving them things, they'll keep saying, I want more. It reminds me of like this one time I was 16, right? And I was taking the train in Chicago. And I had some crummy fast food jobs. So I had actually just gotten paid. I had a couple $100. And I get out and there's a homeless guy and he's asking he's like, please, man, I'm so hungry. I need some food. And I'm like, all right, I'll get you. So I walk up this little kiosk and I'm like, you want like a soda and a food item or something? So then the guy says, he's like, let me get that sandwich, a Coke, and Newport Box 100s. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't say you could buy cigarettes. And then he begs me, come on, man. I haven't had cigarettes in so long. I could use a pack. The guy wouldn't sell them because I was 16. So I was like, here's money. You can buy whatever you want. The guy buys it. Then I'm walking away and he stops. He goes, wait. He's like, can I get some more money? And I'm like, bro, I just bought you cigarettes, food. No, come on, man. And then I told him, I was like, bro, I'm sorry, I don't have it. And he goes, I thought you were cool, man. And I was like, what, dude? I just gave you all of this stuff. And it was never enough. That's the point. The protesters are going to be like, we just want the police to be defunded. And then you're going to be like, okay, we'll defund them. Now defund them more. Okay, we'll shut down this program. Now shut it all down. What if I don't? We'll come to your house. That's what they'll do. And that's what they did. Complicating the matter was yet another shooting Monday. Wow, 16-year-old and a 14-year-old injured, 16-year-old dead. Police are investigating the incident. I'll tell you what. Here's where we're at. Morality policing. You know my favorite thing about the revolution is right now? That they have corporate sponsorship. For real. Have you checked out the McDonald's Twitter page? They got the big old banner. Don't you love it when the violent rioters and extremists get corporate sponsorship? You know why? It's because McDonald's is scared. For real. What's going to happen if they came out and said, they're like, we better just give these people whatever they want? Because regular people don't speak up. Voting for Trump won't do anything. You know why? It says nothing. It just says you voted for Trump. And these people, when they read nothing but the New York Times or CNN, they have no idea what you are talking about or what you care about. Now, the people who show up with signs making demands, McDonald's gets that. That's what I say, man. Andrew Cuomo comes out supporting these things in New York because he sees a mob of people bashing windows and waving signs, and that's all he sees. And he says, clearly no one else cares. And look, obviously some people don't like it, for sure. We'll hear them out. But for the most part, people are just saying, leave me alone. So who do you got to pander to? The people with the crowbars and the baseball bats and the Molotovs. That's who you pander to. Of course, New York's arrested several of these people. I get it. The point is, McDonald's has no idea what you care about. All they know is people will show up and throw bricks through their windows unless they put up signs saying, please spare us. I talked about this before. You go to Berkeley, you go to Oakland, walk down these streets. You do not want to live this way. Every business has signs in the windows saying, some stupid support thing, Antifa signs and Black Lives Matter, and we respect, minorities and stuff like that, and all these weird pandery signs. And I was at a bar there, and they had some sign in the window that was an insult to Trump. And I was talking to the bartender, this woman, and we're talking politics, and she seemed fairly moderate. And I said, do you guys really hate Trump? And she goes, no, not really. And I'm like, then what's with the sign? It's like, they'll throw bricks through the window unless we put it up. You want to live that way? Is that how you want to live? Where roving bands of extremists break onto your property, destroy things, and threaten your family at your home? Well, that's where we're heading. And that's why McDonald's puts up their stupid message. It's basically their national umbrella of, please don't break our windows. We'll do whatever you say. Same thing with all these other companies putting out these messages. They're doing it because they're scared, because terrorists have been romping about the streets, threatening people, shooting people in parks. Not an exaggeration, just happened in Louisville. 5 shootings now in CHAZ. Yeah, these people are scared. And you know what the problem is? Unless Trump comes out and actually does something, they're going to feel like they have no support and no one will save them. Now, Trump has come out. He has. The DOJ is their task force. They've made several arrests. We now have, in certain states, they're making arrests. The people need to feel like there is something they can turn to, that they have hope. If Donald Trump can't create that image, if he can't give that feeling to people that I will have your back, then I don't believe they'll vote for him just because he's better than Biden. In terms of law and order, Trump needs to prove. He needs to be saying, come to me, come and I'll save you. Come hide in my bunker. And if he can't do that, people won't know what to do. Maybe he'll ramp this up. There have been several arrests. Trump has, tweeted out all these images of the far left. Maybe that's all he needs to do. Because maybe now people like this at these homes where they're pulling out weapons are saying like, Joe Biden's not saying anything. If anything, he's agreeing with these people. The Democrats just tweeted out something saying that going to Mount Rushmore was glorifying white supremacy. They deleted it really, really quick. Now, people are going to be like, please save us. And it's not going to be Joe Biden. Take a look at this. Here's the scariest thing about it. These people, I don't know if they're in the legal right or not. In my opinion, they should be. Absolutely should be. Now, mind you, their gun training is lacking. But okay, if you enter private property, and you are shouting things and you're in a group of hundreds of people, I don't care if you, at this point, as an individual, are saying, I didn't say anything. It's not fair that they pointed a weapon at me. You're in a mob. Like there's a point at which you are an accomplice. You are aiding and abetting violent activities. So this is what the far left does with their black bloc tactics. They'll tell regular people to show up wearing black hoodies, wear black. That way they know that the extremists will be able to commit crimes with impunity because the cops can't identify them. So if you go and you march and you have no idea what's going on, well, now you're a useful idiot who's providing cover for the extremists. You show up to these people's property, their private community, and then you start chanting things. According to this couple, they were threatening to burn down the house and to kill them and kill their dog and stuff like that. So they went out and got guns. They went inside, got guns, came out. And guess what? The St. Louis authorities are saying, how dare you try and defend your property from a mob, especially considering that buildings have been burned down, cities across the country face widespread rioting and looting, and someone was just killed the other day. There's been 5 shootings in the CHAZ, but you have no reasonable expectation. You have no right to defend yourself. These people, if they go after them, in my opinion, all they have to do is say, these riots have been going on for a month. They destroyed things. They burned things down. We saw what happened in Ferguson years ago with people getting shot. And then they entered our private property, our private community. They broke the gate and were threatening us. So we got our weapons. And what person in St. Louis is going to be like, lock them up? Maybe. That's the fear of morality policing. Check this out. St. Louis attorneys Mark and Patricia McCloskey went viral, this we understand. They were armed with a rifle and Patricia with a handgun. They stood outside as protesters marched by. Now, the guy seems, my general understanding, based on what I've seen, seems to be safest in terms of legality. He's holding the weapon wrong. Doesn't seem like he knows how to use it, but hey, he's got one. The woman, however, walked up to people and was pointing it with her finger on the trigger. So, I don't know what happens there. But now we can see that the circuit attorney has issued this statement. It reads, I am alarmed at the events that occurred over the weekend, where peaceful protesters were met by guns and a violent assault. We must protect the right to peacefully protest, and any attempt to chill it through intimidation or threat of deadly force will not be tolerated. My office is currently working with the public and police to investigate these events. Make no mistake, we will not tolerate the use of force against those exercising their First Amendment rights, and we will use the full power of Missouri law to hold people accountable. All right. St. Louis Police Department is reportedly investigating the incident as 4th-degree assault by intimidation. And there it is. They can break into your private community. They can threaten you. They can destroy the gates. And you can't defend yourself. Because if you do, you will get arrested. This is hilarious. It reminds me of something happened in the UK where someone broke into an old man's house. I could be getting the story wrong. But the old man defended himself and the robber got seriously injured and they ran away and then died later. So they charged the homeowner with murder. It's like, well, you didn't have to kill him. He broke into my house. I don't know what he was doing. What if he had a weapon? That's the real problem of the extreme nanny state and this fringe ideology. It does not respect your right to be safe. And this, in my opinion, will create it's filling up a powder keg for revolution. If people feel like there's no hope, there's no one they can vote for, and they feel like no matter what they do, the state is going to come after them, what are they going to do? They're going to snap. Here's the point. I warned you of this. I did. And I'm warning you now of what comes after we see this. We'll see if these people actually get charged and arrested. But take a look at what happened in Atlanta, that cop, the Rayshard Brooks killing. The cops being charged with felony murder. The government, seeing the widespread riots endlessly, decides it is easier just to strip the civil rights of one person or two people than to deal with stopping a mob or a riot. How do you end mass rioting? We don't know. We can come out with force that might actually make things worse. It's very difficult to deal with. Send the National Guard, maybe the Army. There are ways to deal with it. But what happens is these police will be standing there and they'll see a massive group of people screaming and throwing things. And they'll see one person scared saying, stop, please help. And the cop's going to go, well, I can't stop all of these rioters. But if I arrest this guy, they'll be appeased for now. And there it is, morality policing. We've seen it with the arrest of the guy in Atlanta. And now I think we'll end up seeing it here. You come onto private property in a state with castle doctrine. I don't see why these people should be investigated for anything. I think they should be like, stop, no, back away. They broke on a private property. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It reminds me of TikTok. Did you hear this story on TikTok? The way it works in the US is they say you're a vulnerable group. If someone speaks negatively about you, then that's hate speech and, you'll get, the speaker gets suspended. In China, with TikTok, because they run it, it works differently. When a mass amount of people were brigading, like there was one woman who was like ugly or something. And so hundreds or thousands of people start spamming, messaging, brigading, insulting. And so TikTok decided the easiest way to stop the bullying was not to ban the bullies because there was too many, but to ban the ugly person who was being bullied. That way there would be no one to bully. Isn't it hilarious how that works? That's authoritarianism. And that's what I think we're going to see. Ban the victims. Arrest the victims. That's what will happen. So here's what I think comes next. The protesters show up to Mayor Durkin's house, right? And they're screaming and they're making demands. Maybe the escalation dies down. Maybe the police actually come in and enforce things, but I doubt it. You see, the police have already violated the Constitution during COVID. Why should I expect that these city cops are going to do anything? Now, of course, the small town cops like in Virginia have stood up for the Constitution. It's the big city ones. Take a look at Mayor Durkin. She has supported the CHOP. She has done nothing to stop this, and she's angered the police. The police they're not doing anything, and she's not doing anything either. So what happens when the protesters go insane and demand the arrest of, maybe not the mayor, that's a step too far, but of some lower ranking government official saying they committed a crime, they said something? The police are going to be like, we can't stop these thousands of people. You're going to have to come with us. We're going to arrest you. And there you go. We've already seen things like this happen. Take, for instance, in Canada, I know it's not America, there's a journalist by the name of Dan Dix, who's a small independent YouTuber. He was surrounded by a bunch of Antifa screaming at him and threatening him. The cops arrested him. I kid you not. They arrested him. It's easier to arrest the victim. That's morality policing. So don't be surprised if/when it comes for you, the people you know, when it comes for random people in your neighborhood. What if they come and protest at these people's house now? Think about it this way. They're being investigated for 4th-degree assault. What happens if the protesters start saying, we must protest these people in their mansion and their white supremacy? And they start chanting and there's thousands of people screaming, saying, we demand their arrest. The cops are going to arrest them. The cops are going to be like, okay. Whether it's legal or not, they will do it. That's what's scary. They've already released people on rioting charges and low-level protesting charges in New York and Fort Worth. The guy in Louisville got arrested for twice for rioting. They release him. Then he commits a mass shooting. So what do you think the cops are going to be scared of? Thousands of people who are uncontrollable and possibly armed and screeching and making demands? Or 2 people who, of course, have already bent the knee? Let me tell you something. These 2 people, okay, apparently I looked up the records, and it looks like the guy, I don't see any donations. The woman may have, I believe, this is all public record, mind you, maybe a Republican. I'll just put it that way. I believe, based on the records, I did a general public record search. Looks like they're Republican, at the very least, slightly leaning towards that. These 2 people issued a statement through their lawyer saying we support the protesters, and it was in fact the white people who were causing problems. Amazing. They said, oh no, we didn't come out because of race or anything like that. That was nothing to do with it. But those white people, that's what they actually said in their statement. I think the statement was stupid because we judge people based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin, right? These 2 people have already bent the knee. They're probably terrified. They're already desperate. They should have stood firm. But now I tell you this. They're weak. They will not fight back. They will not defend themselves. They have already gotten to their knees and begged, please, please, please. So what happens when the mob shows up to their house again and they're being investigated for 4th-degree assault? They will go and no one will protest. This is what these people in government are considering right now. Listen. The cops, the high-ranking people are going to be like, we got a mob on our hands. What do we do? Well, these people will not stop. The only thing we can do is try to placate them for now. All right, well, what happens if we arrest the couple? Nothing. Literally nothing. They'll get arrested. That's it. And then they'll fight it in court. And then maybe in 6 months or a year, they'll win. Okay, arrest them. Easier, right? Because if we arrest them, no one will say anything. No one will do anything. There will be no protest. There will be no speech. There will be no outrage. People will just grumble on the internet. If you don't arrest them, then the rioters will go insane. That's morality policing. I'm fully expecting of something like that to actually take place in the near future. I mean, to be fair, we've already seen it with that cop in Atlanta. They burned down a Wendy's. The city freaked out. They put up a bunch of lies about this guy, and then they arrested the cop who was defending himself. And there you go. That's what they're going to do. And it's going to keep happening because these people are zealots. They're fanatics on the far left. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't read the news. They don't know anything. And they don't care about justice or fairness. They care about getting what they want, regardless of what anyone else thinks. They don't care about your rights. They care about their demands. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.